Hey everyone, I'm Vita Vici and this is a lesson in base sitting in rated battlegrounds. It takes 8 seconds to spin a flag, and by the end of this video, my hope is that you will spend no more than 1 or 2 of those seconds mashing your keyboard and freaking out. You might be thinking, a 6-minute video that describes 8 seconds of time? Isn't that funny? I thought it was going to take 6 minutes, but after editing it turned into 20. Well, yes, I'm a bit long-winded, and it's a lot more complex than you might think. So maybe you're not a great base sitter, or your team lost a node and now you feel like a failure. Maybe they just showed up all at once and overwhelmed you, or maybe a rogue stun locked you and you lost the base, or maybe, I don't know, magic happened and you didn't see them and they capped the base completely from stealth. It's fine, don't worry about it. Well, maybe a little bit. But you can do better. Base sitting is easy when you have a plan, and after these tips, you'll be an expert in no time. I'm going to focus on the general when it comes to base sitting. Now, hunters, mages, rogues, warlocks, anything with a pet, druids, probably the best base sitters. But anybody can base sit, and you may find yourself base sitting in an emergency situation, so all DPS should be prepared to base sit at any time. Your goal here is not to be able to win a 1 versus 1 or a 2 versus 1 fight, so if that's what's making you anxious, just cool it down. The goal is to not lose the node. If you kill the attacker, that's great, but we just need you to stay alive until help can arrive. Before I get started on the actual tips, let's just address the elephant in the room. But Vita, I don't want to base sit. I want a DPS. I want huge numbers. I want to be in the middle of all the action. Base sitting is boring. I want to fall asleep. Aha! That's where you're wrong. A good base sitter has a lot to do. And come to think of it, a good base sitter is one of the most important members of a battleground team. You don't win with HKs and huge DPS and huge heals. Okay, so maybe I'm overestimating that a little bit. All that DPS and heals, that's, winning the fights is how you win. But we win by getting points, and we get points by guarding bases and taking bases. So if you're sitting over there doing nothing, not being vigilant, picking your nose, then you're right. You're really doing nothing. But if you're holding it down like a champ, you're the real MVP. When an RBG leader knows that they have a solid base sitter, that takes a load off of their mind because they know that they don't have to worry about that portion of the battle. So you may not like it, but every DPS should be prepared to sit a base at some point. You may even learn to like it. Side note, healers should never sit a base unless it's an emergency and they're just sitting the base until the DPS can get back. In which case, healer, just follow all the other tips that I have here, but you really shouldn't be there long. The healer needs to be in the action. We need that. That's how we stay alive and all that. Okay, so let's get started with the basics. There are 5 main points that I would like to go through. Are you taking notes? I'll wait. Okay, let's get started. Number 1, know where you are. Help at lumber mill! Wait! Farm! Crap! This may sound simple, but too many times someone calls out the wrong base and everyone starts moving in that direction. And even if they correct it, we've already wasted movement and they might be dead by the time they get there. So it may sound simple, but be aware of where you are. Second, know thy enemy. If your graphic settings will allow it, take a look at that node across the way. On maps like Eye of the Storm, you can actually see the node opposite you. So at the beginning of the game, you'll see the other side trailing down and splitting off to guard the nodes. Look at your node, see what you have over there, and you can better prepare yourself for what might attack you. For example, if you see a rogue on the other side, you know that you might need to keep your guard up because you might have a ninja attack there. If you can't see them, at least talk to your teammates, ask them what they see, take a look at your battleground targets, which you should have, or you should have a similar program, where you can at least see the makeout of the other side. Look at the list, look for the people who are most likely to guard the nodes, and that's probably who's going to be sitting there. Additionally, make sure that your camera is zoomed out far enough so that you can see the area around you, and wherever you place yourself, make sure that you can see the flag, of course. That's the most important part. Third, be aware. I'm not saying being paranoid. Well, maybe a little bit paranoid, but you need to at least be aware. This isn't time to relax. As mentioned in number 2, number 2, you should be keeping an eye in the distance for anyone approaching you, but for no longer than a second or two. If you stare into the distance at the wrong time and focus on another target, that's going to be the moment that a ninja attacker is starting to flip the node, and before you even notice that anything's happening, it's too late. When I'm guarding a node, my eyes are constantly darting to the opposite node, if there is one, into the distance for potential attackers. I'm not trying to follow the battles that are happening, and I'm looking at my flag or my node that I'm guarding, and I'm not looking at anything for more than a second or two, and it's a constant movement looking around. I'm never relaxing or kind of just staring at one spot. Now, at first, this is kind of nerve-wracking, and I've gone entire battles where I've sat there and nothing ever happened, and those are the absolute worst. And it's not because I was bored, it's because I'm over there freaking out, waiting for something to happen, and it never happens. And like I said, the whole time I'm on guard and I'm looking all over the place and things get crazy. If for some reason you need to do something else with your character, anything, at least keep your eyes on the flag. That's the number one thing you want to be looking at. Don't watch fights in the distance. Don't watch porn on your other screen. Don't do anything. You hear me? Nothing. Fourth, have a plan. Know your abilities, know your cooldowns, know your defensive cooldowns, know your immunities. If you're using a pet, be ready to send your pet to the attacker of the node. Set your traps and flares. Basically prepare anything that you might need to help you if you're attacked or if you see the node being ninja'd. If your plan includes being mounted while you guard the node, just dismount now, because that's a terrible plan. If a priest or a warlock comes and fears you, you're going to be running so fast that you're halfway to the other node by the time the fear ends, and then you're completely screwed. Alright. Now, fifth, and most importantly, call out incoming to the rest of your team if you see anyone coming or someone pops up suddenly. I don't care if you're a gladiator in arena, or if the person attacking you only has 10% health, or you just want to open up on them for any reason. It takes 8 seconds to turn a flag, and if you're in voice chat, and you should be, the first second that you see something happening should be the second that you use to hit that push to talk button, or whatever it is that you have set up, and alert your teammates that your node is being attacked and that you need help. Now, the actual information you give is dependent on your comfort level. If you're completely panicking, just say I need help at and then name the node. That's the minimal information that you should give out. Once you're more comfortable and you have realize that you have a little bit more time to give an answer, you can name the class, name the spec, name the number that's coming. As much information as you can possibly give to your strat caller or your leader, it's going to help them make a decision of what they need to send to help you. So again, always 100% of the time call out for help, because you don't know if there's a stealthy waiting in the wings there that once you think you're gonna win that battle, that one-on-one, they pop out and now you're in trouble, and now there's no help close by and the rest of the team doesn't know what's going on. So never try to do it on your own. I've had battles where I can handle the person that jumps me. I call that anyway. Before help even arrives, I know that I'm gonna win that fight, and I can say, okay, I'm fine, everything's cool, and they can turn around. It's not a waste of time for them to come to you under any circumstances. You never know when that second wave of attacks is going to come. So one last time, just so we're clear, always call out for help. This is your main job. Understand? If you suspect that your leader didn't hear you, repeat yourself firmly again that you need help and the information that they need as far as the node. Don't start panicking and freaking out and yelling over all of the other instructions, because then the rest of the team's going to die because they can't hear what the strat caller or the target caller are saying. So just repeat yourself firmly and basically don't panic unless you are truly in dire straits. Like, I'm talking 2 rogues and a disc priest suddenly pop out of the nether type of dire situation, okay? Okay, so now that you know the basics, you're sitting a flag and you're ready and prepared for anything that might happen. Now, an attack is going to come in one of 2 ways. Either you see it coming or you don't, and that means that there are stealthies and you're getting a ninja attack. More often than not, it's going to be the latter, because a surprise attack is better than an announced attack where you can see them coming from a mile away and you have tons of time to call for help. So let's start with scenario 1. You see them coming. So what do? We call out for incoming. And because you see them in the distance, you should even have time to call out specifics. Okay, so now help is coming and you're waiting and you have to stay alive. Pick your target and start thinking about your strategy on the target that you're going to be attacking or defending against. Now, unless help has already arrived, you're going to want to take a defensive approach here. Even, again, if you think that this is a class that it's a good matchup for you, because you don't know what else is coming behind them, or there could be a stealthy along with them there. So you're going to want to be defensive, don't be too aggressive. I'm not saying pop all your cooldowns yet, you should save those once you're sure that nothing else is coming, but just be conservative. You're trying to kill time here until the help can arrive. And if you're not a good dueler, you're not comfortable with them one-on-one, that's okay. I'm sure you know how to stay alive. You can run away, just don't run so far that your ranged abilities can't hit the attacker when they try to spin the node. If you get stun locked and you have a pet, send your pet. If you have ranged abilities, use those. If you're a melee class, use anything that you have to close the distance. Basically, we're trying to stall until the cavalry arrives, right? And if we're popping all our cooldowns and we're doing everything that we have to stay alive, we shouldn't have to do that for too long. We should be able to stay alive long enough for the cavalry to arrive and help us. Pro tip, take the buff that appears at your node if you're on a map where a buff appears. You may be wasting a heal or a speed buff, but I'd rather you have that than the attacker stealing it, and God forbid, take the Berserker buff as well, because that's only going to help you. It blows my mind when I'm going to ninja a node and they leave the Berserker buff, because I'm going to take it, and I'm going to run even through a Hunter's Flare to get it, and then I'm going to destroy you. So please take it the moment it appears, because there might be someone waiting for one of those things to appear just so they can take it and then have an advantage against you. So the second scenario for an assault is going to be from a stealthy, which, as I said, is the most likely in most cases, especially at the beginning of a game. This is the fear that keeps base sitters awake at night. Those sneaky little guys or girls. So you were setting everything you needed to do, being vigilant, watching the map, and then BAM! You're sapped or you're otherwise stun locked by a rogue or a druid. This calls for an advanced tip. Positioning. Positioning is so important when base sitting. If you're sitting directly on the flag and a rogue comes in and saps you, what do? Well, most people panic because they see that 8-second stun and they hit their trinket. And then what happens? The rogue blinds you, and now you're stun locked, or basically you're unavailable for the next 8 seconds. They're going to cap that node. So here's the tip. I'll stand on the node, and then I will run my character for 2 to 3 seconds, and wherever I land, that's where I'm going to stay. If you're a stealthy, that's where you're going to hide. If you're not a stealthy, that's where you're going to make your stand. And what is the reason for this? Well, if the rogue has to come over there and find you, which is going to take him a while first of all, and he finds you and saps you, he now has to run back to the flag. And in the time it takes him, that clock is running. By the time he gets there, it may only take him a second or two, but you can wait out that sap and then hit the rogue immediately with a ranged ability or anything that you have, send your pet in, anything that you can do to stop him from capping. And then when you get hit with that blind, you're going to be okay, because if you have to, you can use your trinket at that point. And after that, it's just going to be diminishing returns. The rogue is going to panic possibly, and meanwhile you have help coming because you've already called it out, right? Now, if you get 2 stealthy attackers, well, I don't know how to tell you, but you are pretty well screwed. You just want to call out for help and stay alive for as long as you can, but if it's a good team, they're going to find a way to stun lock you and cap that node, if not kill you, but again, call out immediately and pop everything to stay alive. Your job here is just to kill time. There's also a good chance that you've only just met the initial assault on the node and that there are more attackers coming. If that happens and you find yourself in a group fight now that the help has arrived, your job, as well as everyone else in your group, is to spin the flag. Now, what is spinning the flag? It's standing on the flag and using an AoE ability to prevent anyone on the other side from capping that flag. Now, of course, you're going to want to try to kill the attackers as well. You don't want to just necessarily stand there and keep spamming AoE unless you literally have the whole other team there and it's something that you really need to do. Now, this is where we want a good DK or somebody who can do this better than your normal base sitter can do it, but everyone needs to pitch in here. You're trying to kill the other side, but the main thing here is not to get an HK, it's to protect that node. You may even find yourself as part of a flag spinning rotation where you die and you call out and someone else takes your spot as the flag spinner, and then you're waiting on res and you're running right back in just to flag spin. I mean, sometimes this is a winning strategy that wins a game for the team, because you're protecting a node against a huge attack and the whole enemy's team is putting everything that they have into it, and all you have to do is spin flags. So once the dust clears and your node has been defended, you can go back to your position and reset. So that's it. Those are the basics of sitting a base. And now for a few advanced tips. If you've been attacked multiple times in a match and you've creamed them because now you're an expert, you might want to consider what's going to happen next. Are they just going to keep throwing resources at you? Probably not. They're probably going to take a poke at another node. Now this is sort of one of those instinctual things. If you feel that they're not going to do this again and fight a losing battle, you might want to warn one of your other teammates who's guarding another node and let them know just to be extra vigilant because there might be something coming their way. And also, again, you want to keep your sight lines up. Watch the other nodes. If you see them moving away and not towards you, call a heads up to one of the other flags that's being guarded by one of your teammates. They might not be able to see it. You can. Every little bit of information helps. It's funny, on a map like Eye of the Storm, I'll see a rogue start to move towards my side before they stealth. So they've now just completely given away their position and their intention. Now, when it's me doing the ninja job, I actually will run in the opposite direction before I stealth, just to completely throw them off and make them think that I'm not coming towards them, and then I loop back around and go in their direction. So if they're dumb enough to do this and give away what they're about to do, it's just going to make your life a lot easier. So again, watch for things like that. This next tip is a super advanced and reckless move that you should only try if you've already talked it out with your battleground leader or strat caller, and applies to generally only late game heroics or right at the beginning, and if you're a stealthy, and if you have all your movement cooldowns. So if you see a rogue or whoever it is that's guarding the opposite side start to make that move towards you, as I mentioned previously, sometimes I will immediately start moving to their node while I call out to my teammates and let them know that my node needs backup. So I'm moving to his node, which he has abandoned, and taking a chance. And this happens a lot. A lot of times those rogues or druids will cap the opposite node and immediately make a move to the next node. So when that happens, I'm racing them to the other side. So this is why I like to have all of my movement speed cooldowns ready to go so I can get to the other node before they get to mine. Because if you're lucky, you cap their node, your help arrives at the node that you left, and now you're taking points away from the enemy at minimum, if not bringing back up into that new mode and guarding it and taking it. Now a non-stealthy can attempt this as well if you just want to run out and meet them in the middle of the battlefield if you think it's a battle that you can win. You know, again, late game heroics, if you're behind and you need to try something, sometimes this is something that could work as well. Like I said, it's risky, but in a pinch, it could be your miracle move if you need a miracle. And this little ninja move brings us to our bonus section. Tips from a ninja. But don't stop watching. These are tips that you want to listen to so you know how your attacker thinks and you know how that ninja thinks. So this is going to be something that's going to help a base sitter basically learn from the lessons of those who are dummies. If I'm assaulting a flag, I'm always going to look for a spot for some cover before I try to assault the flag. Why? Because ninjas cover themselves to make them hard to find. On maps like Eye of the Storm, it's easier because two of the towers have a tower door that you can hide in. So what I'll do is I'll sneak into that tower door and I'll actually stand inside the tower just within range of the flag and start to spin it. So often, if the person defending that node is standing in front of it, they don't even see me, and they can't see the little swirlies that happen on the node. Which brings me to another tip, those little swirlies. Watch for that. Sometimes you're not going to see the actual person because they've found this perfect ninja spot to stand. Look for the swirlies. If you're out in the open, like in Arathi Basin or any of the other nodes in the other maps, you just want to stand in a place that is opposite where the defender is, behind the flag, and you want to angle your body in a position so that the smallest amount of surface area is showing. Now this might sound completely crazy, but believe it or not, sometimes you can actually get a ninja cap that way, right in front of their face, while they're sort of paying attention, but they're not paying attention as well as they should. And it happens all the time, and it is hilarious. Don't let this happen to you. Now outside of the ninja positioning, we have ninja senses. And this is where a ninja has to just use their senses by watching the person that's guarding the flag. Now a base sitter that's sitting completely still is the most difficult to read. Are they AFK? Are they paying attention? What are they doing? Where are they looking? We don't know. Now these people who run around and they move like a normal human would in these situations, where they run to the edge of something so they can see better in that direction. They're just making themselves so easy to read. I know where they're looking. I can see that they're running to a battle. I can see that they're running to one of my teammates that is approaching the node. And when they do that, I know that they're not looking at the flag. So sometimes I'll even call out to my teammate and say, hey, approach this node. And as soon as they get close enough, I'll see that little movement in the person defending, and that's when I click the flag and start spinning it. And before they even know it, it's gone. They're worrying about what they can see and not even thinking about what they can't see. Preying on these people is one of my favorite things to do. Don't be one of those people. Learn from their mistakes. This concludes our lesson on base sitting. I hope you'll find the information useful and learn from the strategies that I described and from the mistakes that others have made in your place. If you've learned nothing else from this lesson, just remember 3 things. Pay attention, don't stand directly on the flag, and call out for help immediately. Good luck.